launched a new product to market called ContX IQ, and we're really excited to bring this to businesses because we noticed a gap in the market. There was a place where businesses were struggling to deliver and solve things that they really should have been able to solve, but weren't able to do well. So, Marius, I'm hoping that you can tell me a little bit about the challenges that you're seeing when we were talking to businesses and why we created this product.
We digitize everything, kind of forgot one thing, and that was that the holistic view of these identities, we lack some of the dimensions, like how is people connected to each other and connected to other things. And in the old days, we had like people knew each other. Like you went to the local bank and the banker actually knew you and your family. But when we moved to this new world of digital services, we only focus on the individual logging in and not the holistic view of that identity, which also is the surroundings, and we don't have that.
Yeah. In digital experiences, we sort of lost the nuance of how
Yeah,
people are connected to one another and how people move in the world outside of themselves individually.
yeah, exactly. And because of that, the experience that the end users, your consumers, will have, they will be lacking somewhat. You will not get that rich and contextual customer experience. And because of that, you will also experience different things across applications within the same organization, even. So your whole customer experience will lack because of this.
Are there any other challenges besides customer experience? Obviously, that's a big one that businesses want to be able to deliver great experiences like maybe they had in the old days, as you mentioned, and that's something that they desire to build. But what about the technology side of things outside of experiences? What are the challenges there, the burdens on businesses to just be able to provide that?
Some of this is tied to the legal side of things as well, not only technology. So the ever increasing demands for like privacy, which is a good thing, will also stop you from using data, and this also complicates on the technical side. As a developer, you need to then integrate with a lot of data sources in your application, and you will have one-to-one relations between your application and the different data sources. And you have to orchestrate all the system calls to the different applications, and you need to handle consent and authorization and identities and all of that. It kind of brings a lot of logic into your applications that will slow them down, and they will a lot of the business logic actually within the application will be somewhat commodity and not the business logic required to supply the good services to the customer. It's additional things you just need to have.
Yeah, we find ourselves in a place of trying to figure out how to drive great experiences, but with legacy technology that's slow and costly and takes a long time to update and also lacks the visibility. And as you said, to be able to see across individual digital experiences becomes a really big challenge for organizations.
Yeah, absolutely. And also it's a trend, of course, in the market that organizations likes to partner up. You have a lot of companies with a lot of customers that are into more like a platform thinking, where they provide a platform for their consumers, but also they like to invite their partners into this platform. And that is, of course, to be able to provide additional services to the same customer base. And again, consent and GDPR and other regulatory requirements come in and makes this hard. So you like to utilize the consumer data, but you need to do this in the proper way.
Definitely. So there are a lot of constraints on an organization to be able to deliver what they want to deliver in a nimble way, but people are still trying to do that. They're still trying to solve those technology challenges. So before we dive into our solution, Maybe you can just talk about how businesses are currently trying to meet the challenges. They have a desired goal, but how are they currently trying to solve this?
It is solved today, but it's solved by in-house IT systems that usually is built by the organization itself. Of course, it can solve the problems, but often it becomes very static, meaning when new source systems for the data is brought in, or some business flows or processes are changed, it's hard to manage, hard to adapt to those new requirements. So that's one problem, and but also how it's solved usually. In addition to that, you can always cover up your lack on the IT side with more manpower. So some cases can be solved by just upscaling sales and service, for instance, or your support system, whatever it is, and you can help your customers that way. We believe that a lot of the problems are solved by just adding more manpower to your staff.
Consequences of that for businesses are kind of great, right? That means that things can be costly. It takes a long time to build, meaning that delivering new products and services can't get to market fast enough to be differentiated. And also, customers require innovation. They desire it, and they should be able to have that, which is part of the reason why we launched ContX IQ. So we had the desire to say that using new technology and a paradigm shift for building, combining different capabilities to be able to move more nimbly, build more nimbly, and be mindful of customers' data to drive better experiences was an important part of this product. So, what types of industries are challenged here? Who are we talking to?
I don't think this is that industry specific. To be honest, I think you will find a need for a service like Context IQ in a lot of industries. But some keywords where I believe the challenge may be more important to solve than others is that when you have end users like consumers, members, customers, of course, that needs to represent more than one entity. Like a person needs to represent more than one organization, for instance, or it needs to represent him or herself in addition to a company. Then it gets harder because you need to connect all this data together for that right context. You also have organizations providing services to a group of people. So you like to see the individuals, but you also like to see how they are connected. And a typical example for that will be a household or a family. How are those people connected to each other? And should they have the same access rights or the same data connected? Uh, Maybe not. But basically, I think Context IQ fits very well whenever you need to connect a lot of information at the moment the user logs in, and it needs to be contextual as well.
Yeah, and this experience of needing to understand how that individual interacts with your services at login time is you see it across many industries, across retail, across manufacturing and selling of products and services, across insurance companies, financial entities as well. So it is really valid that you say they all have one common challenge or perhaps need, which is to understand how the individual is interacting with their services and to be able to do that at the moment of access. But let's talk a bit about Context IQ, the new product launch. We launched Context IQ to deliver a better solution to the market because we recognize that businesses are hungry to deliver more contextually relevant experiences for their end consumers, and to be able to have richer insights and do that faster and reduce costs and just be able to move faster to market with better solutions. So maybe you can describe a little bit about the product in and of itself. What is the solution?
Yeah, of course, this is part of the IndyGuide platform itself, and of course, it's based upon the identity knowledge graph that is schemaless, meaning our customers can bring their own data model. They don't need to cram their data into something we define. We can use the data model they provide. And in addition to that, we of course we connect all the data to identities, and we are utilizing the metadata in context, and that is either information that is part of the ingestion or at the create time of the data itself, what's the source of this data field and timestamps, when was it last modified, and so on. And in addition to that, we also have metadata that we create with functions, and that is machine learning functionality for identity matching, for instance, where you can match two identities or more, and look at that as the same. You can also add trust scoring. It's basically a way to use different dimensions to score your data for accuracy and so on. So that is used as filters for Context IQ. So you can then get the right data again for the right context. And basically, it's just a REST endpoint that you integrate into your applications with queries and authorization rules.
Yep. So Context IQ is a service that embeds APIs that allow you to interact with a graph directly in your applications, interacting, querying for contextual data, and securely delivering that data to the applications at runtime.
Absolutely. And I have to add that by doing that, we can offload a lot of the logic from the application and configure that logic on a platform instead of writing code to express that locally in the applications.
And by offloading the logic from the applications, it allows businesses to move faster, to have greater insight, and make connections outside of those siloed digital experience of the past.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and of course, this can be reused as well across the application portfolio. So yeah, lots of benefits with offloading that logic.
The product is called ContX IQ for a reason. And it is because contextually relevant information is a really important role in driving great customer journeys. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of context or explain context?
That means different things across industries and organizations as well. But look at it as a situation or an intent of the user. So when you have an end user logging in to your service, it's the situation surrounding that event, that session, and the person performing this has some reason for visiting your digital services. So that's part of the context, and we like to try to capture that and use that context to provide the right data to the right identity and the right situation and context. And of course, it must be secure as well. So to be able to derive the actual context based on what I just said, we can divide it into three different things. It can either be like some action that the user does, like it selects something after logging in. For instance, that today I like to represent this organization and not that other one I also have access to represent. It can also be session information. This is a bit technical, but it can be values that's declared inside of access tokens, and this can be something like your location. So last week you logged in from Germany, and this time you log in from Spain. Maybe that will derive the context. Of course, also applications. You can have the same user base across applications, and And if a user logs in from one application and not the other one, that may also be a way to differentiate different contexts.
So context is very important. There's different ways that you can derive context. But another important part is securing of the data. So the security and controlling of data that then gets exposed to the applications is kind of the last mile, the last step of Context IQ. Can you talk about how security is baked directly into the product?
We identity, and of course, part of identity is both this security is important, of course, and the security can be divided into many things. But first off, you need to know who's knocking on your door. So you have to recognize the identity that is logged in. So that means that IndyCard can analyze and verify any tokens that has been issued by our customer. So when a user logs in, the application will have some information about that user, and we can verify that on the fly. So when you know who's logging in, then you need to look at the authorization, and that is divided into two. One is to take a decision based on business logic or policies, and the other one is to enforce that. So first, you have to ask, can this user perform this action? And if not, then you have to stop that from happening. So you cannot expose any data that is not authorized. And this is part of the business logic, usually locally or somewhere enforced within the infrastructure of a large organization, usually. At IndyKite, we look at consent as part of authorization. So it's not just something you check to see if the end user has consented to use this data. It's actually an authorization decision. So that also complicates things, of course, but we see that it's part of authorization. And of course, all of this will be reused across applications. So you will have one platform, one place to enforce, one place to define your policies, and to set up this verification of users at login time. And you can use that also when you have audits, for instance. You can see who has access to what and all of that at one central spot.
Security really is the last mile of being able to deliver experiences. And contextually relevant data is really important to drive great customer experiences, but it's also important in the world of AI and thinking about retrieving data and delivering answers in the context of artificial intelligence and large language models. Can you talk a bit about this and how the backend technology that IndyKite delivers can serve these types of use cases?
Yes, we've been talking about like end users now, but at IndyCard we don't see identities to be limited to persons like users. Any identity that can identify itself can be relevant for context IQ. So that includes, of course, IoT devices. An IoT device can consume and produce data. And sometimes that data can also be related to someone or something else. So you need to capture that. And the same goes with AI agents. They also use their own identity, of course, but they also have access to end user data or IoT data, whatever, and all of that needs to be secured. Additionally, we believe, as I said, that consent will be ever important, and especially now. So I think uh, a strict enforcement of authorization and consent and access to data is really important for AI for the future.
Great. So we're really excited to be able to provide this product to the market, Context IQ, understanding the world around us in the digital experience, mimicking those rich relationships that give value and help drive better customer experience. and also being mindful of data privacy, securing data, and allowing businesses to be able to move faster and build faster. And we're really excited to share it with you.